my top 25 for week 8. Here we go. Number 1, I still have Georgia. They were off this week, but they play Florida next week, so nothing to talk about. Number 2, I have Tennessee. Last week they were up in 3. I talked about kind of why I have them ahead of Ohio State. They look a lot better, and also like they're putting up all these numbers in the first half. They're not just running up the score late with their starters still in. So, but they do play Kentucky next week, so I think that should be a decent game. Or I guess they play Kentucky on Saturday. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. But giving up 24 to UT Martin is definitely concerning. Ohio State, they dropped down one spot in my rankings just for the simple fact that I think Tennessee's actually good for once. And they still beat Iowa pretty convincingly. I talked about this game. And yeah, but they play Penn State next, and I do think that they're actually a much better team than Penn State is. So I'm kind of hoping Penn State can pull it off, which just feels wrong to say, but I really don't like Ohio State. Michigan State's at 4. They were off last week, and they play Michigan State next week, which I think they'll definitely want revenge after what happened last year. TCU, I have all the way up at number 5 for number 8. They came out with a big win over Kansas State. They play West Virginia next week, which I mean, in the Big 12, anything can happen. But I think that they're definitely not a lock to go undefeated, but it's definitely possible. Clemson, I have dropping number 5 to 6. I was not convinced with their win over Syracuse. I thought they looked bad. DJ looked horrible. The defense was kind of inconsistent. They just looked all over the place for most of the game. They did get it together and pull it through, which I guess you could say is what good teams do. But I don't know. I'm still not sold on this team, and they really have a very very weak schedule. Okay, also they're off next week too. Alabama I have staying at number 7. I do think if Alabama played Clemson, Alabama would beat them by about 20. But Clemson is undefeated, so I do have to give them the edge. But Alabama did come out and pretty convincingly beat Mississippi State, although it seemed a lot closer than that. But they're off next week, so they'll have a week to just figure everything out. At number 8, I have Oregon, and this is just what's crazy about this year. Oregon got beat by 46 points week 1 of the number 1 team, and here they are at number 8. So that just shows anybody saying, oh, we need a 12 team or 8 team playoff, that's probably not the best idea. Because there's just a big skill gap. But they looked very, very convincing in their win this week over UCLA, who previously was undefeated. Oregon's only big game remaining is a home game against Utah, which they'll definitely be looking for revenge in. And they're lucky that they get Utah at home and not on the road, because we see how teams play when they have to go play Utah. Number 9 is Oklahoma State. They had a big win over Texas. I'm moving up 2 spots. They play K-State next week, which I think should actually be a pretty good game, and I'm kind of excited to watch. I really hope that this team can actually win out, because they'd be an interesting team to see like in the college football playoff discussion. Number 10, I have UCLA. God, trying to do this with a cough is a lot harder than you think it is. But they play Stanford next week. Honestly, like this, I really didn't think that this team was actually that great. I'd still say they're a top 10 team, and I only have them moving down 1 spot. But they really really struggled early on. They're seeming to get it together, but that was definitely an off week against Oregon. They really can't afford to have another one of those if they want to make the playoffs. Number 11 is where I have Wake Forest. They've been a quietly good team this year, I think. Sam Hartman, he had that whole health issue in the offseason, but he's back. And they did beat Boston College, who I know is definitely the doormat of the ACC right now, but all you can ask them to do is win, and that's what they did. Number 12, I have Ole Miss, and I love this photo because that can easily be taken out of context. But that photo aside, they did not look very good this week. I had them ranked above Alabama previously because they were undefeated, but I still think their matchup with Alabama should be a good one, but I could definitely see it being like it was last year. I just think this team, they struggle to play a whole game, which we've seen. This is the second time now they've been shut out in the second half. So they're going to have to get it together if they really want to compete. USC is who I have at 13. They're staying at 13, but they were off this week. And I don't know what's up with Jordan Addison, but I know he got hurt in the Utah game, and it did not look good. But I haven't heard anything about it, but I'll still be surprised if he actually plays the rest of the season. 14 is where I have Utah. Usually I would put Utah ahead of USC because they beat USC, but that game was at home. It was on a 2-point conversion, and yeah, Utah also has 2 losses as opposed to USC's 1, even though USC really hadn't played anybody. But Utah, they do play Washington State tonight. That game's really, really late here, so I'll probably watch the first half and go to sleep. But Utah, just please take care of business and win. 15 is where I have Syracuse. I'm falling 3 spots. They actually take on Notre Dame at home this week, which, if they win, maybe I'll come up with, like, big old Syracuse piss. Oh, I know what I should do. If Syracuse wins, I should get, like, the whole orange head and then put the Stanford hat on top of that, you know? That'd be funny. I don't know why I'm, like, getting stuff for every single team that beats Notre Dame. I used to do this for BYU, but I'm not getting a Liberty shirt, just by the way. Number 16, I have Penn State. They beat the crap out of Minnesota, but because of all the teams above them, just not really losing, or some of them lost, but they were ranked much, much higher above them. I still am at the same spot, and after getting violated by Michigan, I still don't really know if I can move them up. But if they can beat Ohio State, then they'll definitely be getting moved up. 17 is where I have Kentucky. I actually had them at 17 last week. I messed up my rankings last week, but I was too sick to record them anyway. I just recorded the thing after the Utah game, and that was it. But they take on Tennessee, and if they can win that game, then held Tennessee. But I'd actually like to see that. 18 is where I have UNC. I think that they've been getting disrespected a lot. They have a really good quarterback, and probably, in my opinion, a top 3 receiver in the country in Josh Downs. They take on Pitt, who, let's just say, is so overrated. So I think that they should take that one, but they were off this week. Illinois, who have at 19, I think they have the best rushing offense in the country with Chase Brown, who's literally come out of nowhere. But they were off this week, but I still have moving up 4 spots because I thought 23 was a little bit low for them. And also they play Nebraska next week. But I just want to say, those uniforms are my favorites in all college football. 20 is LSU. I've had them unranked last week. They're at 6-2. I think they're another team who's like getting disrespected a lot, but they're gonna be off next week. They had a huge win at home, even though there were a lot of Ole Miss fans there. It was still technically a home game, and they came out with a 25-point win over a top 10 team. So you got to give them credit for that. 21 is where I have Tulane. Yeah, they're 7-1, which usually I wouldn't put a group of 5 team in the rankings if they're not undefeated this late in the season. But I mean, they were up 35 nothing at one point in this game, and we see what almost happened. But they still won, and they're off next week, so they're probably still going to be here. Kansas State, I have them dropping from number 17 to number 22. They blew an 18-point lead on the road at TCU, which is usually inexcusable, but I mean, TCU, they're a good team, but you still would have liked to see them keep it together, and it doesn't get any easier because they got to play Oklahoma State next week, but at least that game's at home. 23 is where I have NC State. They were off this week, and they play Virginia Tech. Actually, right now, the game's actually going on right now. The 24 is where I have Cincinnati. I had them unranked last week. Their only loss came to Arkansas in the opening weekend, and they've looked really good since then, so I still have them here. They barely beat SMU this weekend, which is not really the best result, but whatever. And they go on the road to play UCF this next week. And finishing off our list, number 25, we have Maryland. They barely beat Northwestern, so they fell 3 spots from 22. But if Tua's little brothers, if his injury's not too bad, then they should be good. And they also get a week off for him to heal. So